Thanks for staying with us. President Cyril Ramaphosa has arrived in London ahead of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral tomorrow. Ramaphosa is one of 500 guests from 200 countries who will bid farewell to the British monarch. For the latest from London, let's speak to Giles Gibson, coming to us live from London there. And Giles, talk to us about, the plans ahead of tomorrow. There must be quite a lot of logistics to get through.
There is a huge amount of logistics to get through. The final hours of police and the royal family and the military, all the different branches of UK life getting ready for this moment when the United Kingdom is really going to be in the spotlight. The world's cameras tuned in on the United Kingdom and the state funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. You can probably hear the helicopter circling overhead. That is perhaps a television crew keeping an eye on this queue that is still snaking along the River Thames in central London, people waiting to get into Westminster Hall to pay their respects to Queen Elizabeth II. Earlier in the day, the waiting time was up to almost 14 hours to get into Westminster Hall and to walk past the casket, to have, perhaps a minute or two in front of the casket before that is over. At some point in the course of the day, the authorities are going to have to say that you're not allowed to join the back of the queue because there is a hard out at 6:30 local time on Monday morning. That is when the final few people will file past the casket of Queen Elizabeth II. Then the doors will close and they will spend the next few hours getting ready for that casket to move from Westminster Hall, where it's been over the last few days lying in state, moving on to Westminster Abbey, where the state funeral is going to take place.
And Giles, reading some of what has been coming out in terms of reports and watching some of, the news agencies as they talk about some of the things that are expected to unfold, the government declaring, of course, a day of public holiday at the urging of, Queen Elizabeth's son, King Charles III. Now, of course, there will be the procession beginning with the coffin traveling the several hundred yards from the Westminster Hall and all of that. Let's talk about that, tomorrow in terms of what can we expect as part of the program.
Yeah, let me just walk you through the way that the day is going to work. So as I say, 6:30 a.m. local time here in London, that's when the final few people will walk past the casket, pay their respects to Queen Elizabeth II. That's when the lying in state that's been going on for the last few days will come to a close. Then there will be a few hours until the procession starts. So the casket will move from Westminster Hall to Westminster Abbey. It's really not very far at all, but it's going to take around about 15-20 minutes. They're going to move slowly through the streets of London. I can expect there will be a massive crowd of people, 10-20 people deep, just looking to try and catch a glimpse of the casket as it moves towards Westminster Abbey. Then we're going to have the service in there, which will take around an hour or so. We're going to see the UK Prime Minister, Liz Truss, also the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Baroness Scotland, both reading lessons over the course of that service. Then the casket will start its actual final journey. It will move through central London towards Hyde Park, towards Wellington Arch, right next to Hyde Park. That's when the procession will finish. The casket will then be placed into the royal hearse, which will carry the coffin to Windsor, and that's where the final few ceremonies. There will be a public service which will also be broadcast on television, and then in the evening there will be a private service behind closed doors so that the closest members of Queen Elizabeth's family, King Charles, her grandchildren, etc., will have a chance to say goodbye before she is finally laid to rest alongside her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh.
All right, Giles, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Of course, quite a busy day. I can only imagine how long it will be a day for you and as you bring us the very latest there on the ground. But thank you so much for that. That was Giles Gibson, SABC News correspondent live from London.